Greetings, dear viewers, and welcome to my fan commentary on episode 10 of Power Rangers Mystic Force Purified Xander. And yes, it's a Green Ranger episode. For St. Patrick's Day, at least. Given that over the course of Mystic Force, there really wasn't that many episodes dedicated to Xander, but I had to pick this one out specifically because there's something I want to talk about with this episode, as opposed to the last time I did a fan commentary on a Mystic Force episode about Genji. But don't you worry, I'll probably do another Mystic Force commentary on a Genji-centric episode, which that being his debut episode, Scaredy Cat, another day. What was so common about this episode is, this was probably around the time when this was already continuing the Fireheart storyline that they were doing earlier from the previous episode with them getting the Fireheart egg. And what was so amusing with that, while they continued that storyline from the last episode, is they wanted the last episode before the two-parter with Vida being a vampire. What was about this episode is, they get the chest of the Fireheart egg, and then you got the plot with Xander wanting to perfect himself over having a zit on his nose. I thought, at first I thought it was on his forehead, but no, if you look at that zit on his nose, it's really disgusting. It's already worse enough, back when these Power Rangers aired 15 years ago, when I was, back when I was in middle school, of course, I was going through becoming a teenager, hitting puberty, and, having those things that teenagers starting at age 13, I would say mainly 14, go through. That device that Toby has looks something familiar from early pre-Zoo Ranger Sentai. Why does that device look like a device that belonged from one of the 80 Sentais, like Dynaman or Bioman or something? Anyway, but when I was going through that stage of entering puberty, start having armpit hair and all that other stuff, change of voice as I was getting older, as opposed to that pipsqueak high pitched talk, talking like a little kid, and then going into becoming a teenager, the voice deepening, as I was getting older. That growing, when I was starting to become a teenager, I did start having acne breakouts, and having a zit was close from being one of those, facial feature issues going through puberty. Xander using Claire's perfection potion to bring her dead flowers to life. The side effect of Xander using the potion to perfect his face from having that zit, there was the downside for that. If you have seen this episode before, for those who haven't seen Mystic Force, even for people who haven't even seen Power Ranger seasons like this, if you haven't probably haven't seen the season in a long time after its airing. I wish Xander didn't use that potion. While the Rangers have the other half of the map to Fireheart, Necroli has the other half. Something familiar about this episode also is that when we get to later on, before we get to one episode before the finale, that episode with Matumbo, one of the members of the 10 Terrors, that episode was also a Vida and Xander episode. This was the first. And something also, because given this episode and the theme of today. Oh, Nickelodeon slime! Oh my god! Basically, Vida should have never stepped on that rock and get slimed on. You sure Nickelodeon ain't gonna sue you for this? Well, again, given the fact that this time Disney still had Power Rangers, given the slime, it does look like the kind of slime that they borrowed from Nickelodeon every time Nickelodeon would always slime a celebrity at the Kids' Choice Awards every year. You know, seeing Vida covered in slime is kind of icky. Xander should have never even opened that door knowing it was going to unleash that monster. If that was supposed to be a cave bathroom. And then they just morph automatically but being thrown out the cave. Okay, that's one way to morph. Entering a monster fight. I don't know how this went down in Manji Ranger because, again, I haven't seen how... Well, see, one of the things I did like about the Disney era, again, how if certain fight scenes or so was too much for Disney back when they still had Power Rangers and it was, you know, unbearable to use from the Sentai footage, they can always, you know, reshoot the shots to make it more American and more suitable, you know, and also censorship. Treasure chest is like a time ticking bomb. So if they don't decode the chest before the timer reaches zero, the chest will remain locked forever. Interesting. I wish we had something like this in the series again, but given the times now. There goes our money shot from the opening credits we see all the time. I keep forgetting the Hidiacs, you know, the name of the foot soldiers for the season, for the underworld. Oh yeah, this was still early Mystic Force when Mordecon was still the main villain, the first main big bad, but he was not going to last. His last appearance again was in the Gatekeeper two-parter. See, Xander really should have never took that potion and tried to perfect his face because of that zit on his nose. And now he's growing weeds and stuff on his body, especially from the back of his head. Jeez, I mean, he really should have never took that potion. And then his flesh starts becoming wood, and everybody's laughing at him for looking like this now, looking like a wood tree man. And then, you know, what's so clever with this scene here is that they make fun of him becoming a tree, you know, tree man, wood man, leaf man, all those words like that, making all those tree, garden, weed jokes and puns. That is kind of like, okay, I can get with that kind of subtle humor with, you know, in Power Rangers. Just because even though Xander is the one who's strong as a tree, right? given the spell code he's going to get later in the episode, of course. There is no way Toby can hack that ticking timer on the treasure chest. There is no way, because no matter how many, whenever he goes inside his office and try to hack that timer to see what's in that box, he's probably going to figure every clever way in the book in his office try to get that chest open. Inspector Gadget cosplay much, Xander? Ugh, and then growing moss grass on his chest. That's chest hair. Ha ha. You know, although the cosplay with the trench coat and the black hat, that looks so Inspector Gadget like. But if only he actually also looked a bit like Dick Tracy in a way. That visual effect there, just with the wood, you know, the tree moss all over his face, that was some visual effect, all right. Looking like that visual effect I saw from Superman 3 when that lady, you know, in Superman 3, when that lady went inside the supercomputer and then her body, you know, I know it was a very horrific scene in that movie. The flowers were alive earlier, but now they're back to being dead. Xander has fully mutated into a tree person. You see, again, just because you want to get rid of that zit so you can look like your normal self, but then you turn around, you became one with the nature, one with trees, one with weeds and grass, and just because you want to look no homo, no handsomely beautiful of a young man, but you really didn't need to do that. And then the consequence was you were going to become one of the tree. Much I like Kelson Henderson's characters in this franchise, there are times Phineas can help, and other times he just sucks at help. You know, seeing him in that scenes, you know, seeing him in that makeup with him with all that wood and weed and stuff in his face, it looks very reminiscent to some of that prosthetic makeup for something like this in any fantasy film, you know, children's fantasy film from the 80s and 90s. It just looks very scarily creepy like that. I bet you little kids who were watching this back in 2006 were probably creeped out to see a Power Ranger like this. But kudos to the makeup artist for making Xander look like this just for this one bit of the episode. Whoever the makeup artists were. I wanted to comment about the hair highlights in Vida's hair for the episode. That given that this was going to be a Green Ranger episode and St. Patrick's today, I figured, okay, well, there was another common thing with Vida's hair every few episodes this season. Like one episode she has blue hair highlights with the black hair. Next up, some other episode she has I don't know, red, and then here green, and then, well, of course she had some pink hair highlights, but what does it represent? Toby's gone really crazy trying to figure out the time code before the timer reaches 0, how to open the treasure chest. Still can't figure that out. He can't move because he's now become one with the tree. Because basically, now as soon as his body starts continuing to transform, it's like he can't even. Now he's starting to, be stiff like a tree, can't move. So, oh yeah, and then Vida turning into that pink rain cloud. Well, again, CGI for that wasn't all that great because given, again, the budget of the CG effects in this era of Power Rangers. You can put those pieces of grass down because he left. Back to normal. Yeah, I know it sucks to be Phineas. I get why he's so alone and has nobody. I mean, he befriends the Rangers and Claire and everyone, but when he's all by himself, I can feel his pain being alone for Troblin. For this Ranger fight with the Hideax and US footage, it does look like they were doing it before a near sunset when they filmed this at the time. Time to show off a new toy to sell. And it's a pair of boxing gloves for a Ranger, basically known as Mystic Force Fighters. The only Rangers to only get this pair of boxing gloves is only the male Rangers. Sadly, the female Rangers don't get them, unfortunately. Xander would only have those twice. Chip had them for like twice as well. Nick only had them once. But at least I'd rather take the Mystic Force Fighter boxing gloves over Xander having that muscular physique power up from one of his spell codes for that. And uniquely, this was only made exclusive for Power Rangers, which I can get away with, and I don't think any of the original figures that Bandai did for the toys for this season 15 years ago had figures of them. I don't think I recall. I don't know if they did made action figures of the three Mystic Force Rangers having the Mystic Force Fighter boxing glove like esque gloves to punch monsters in a fight. Because again, this was all made. That power up was purely an American invention. And this never happened in, I don't think, Maji Ranger, unless I have to check. what contradicts the line, but when the monster is defeated and then the gloves go away, and then like, you know, when Xander says that, you know, we got a new spell code, we can all use it, but unfortunately couldn't even use, no, Chip says it, but they was not going to use it a lot because this power up will be dropped, because given the short series length nature of the season and 32 episodes, you can't really do that for the girls, unfortunately. You know, they say that they can all use it, but then turn around, it's just only Chip, Xander, and Nick to use them. Vida and Madison don't get to use them. But sure, yeah, there have been some women that have done boxing in their time, but even though it seemed like boxing is more of a male sport than a women's sport also. Was there, wait, there was a button to stop the timer? I think him trying to solve that puzzle just really did drove Toby nuts. He's getting even crazier, even though again, and I thought Piggy can be crazy sometimes, talking to himself and then talking about, like, even back in SPD's finale about how he'll be vaporized by Grum over stuff. And this episode ends with the unveiling of Fireheart's egg. It looks like a huge Cadbury egg, and knowing in fact Easter is coming up, speaking of which. And again, the Fireheart egg prop was only an American prop for Power Rangers, so it never appeared in Maji Ranger. So that was Purified Xander.